Greetings to all C3RF members and friends across Canada and indeed around the world, and a special welcome to the folks at Veterans for Freedom on their dedicated streaming channels as they view this video summary of the C3RF update for 4 October 2024. The title of this update is Canada's Enabling Act. It kicks off by referencing our own Prime Minister when he recently quipped that the good folk of Canada were obliged to continue on the path that he and his merry band had blazed on their behalf. The way forward, he said, was surely in reach and there was no turning back. When it comes to rights, equality, and the economy that works for everyone, the Prime Minister was adamant. We can't go back on any of it. An everyday Canadian citizen fully immersed in dealing with objective reality as it now presents itself in the new post-national Canada might wonder, is he serious? After all, are Canadian individual rights and freedoms on the right track when we see peaceful protesters having their bank accounts frozen? Is equality being properly serviced when the unvaccinated amongst us are summarily terminated from their jobs with no access to unemployment insurance? And is the economy beyond any need for a course correction when its productivity numbers are crashing? Is our Prime Minister really serious? Actually, it would appear that our head executive is more than willing to speed the country along the path of massive and reckless change. The legislation and regulatory initiatives emanating from the parliamentary sausage factory that he rides herd over are coming at Canadians in fire hose fashion. Take, for example, Bill C223. This is an act to develop a national framework for a guaranteed livable basic income that seeks to develop a financial framework that would provide each Canadian with a universal basic income. This Marxist initiative stands to suck upwards of $93 billion out of the public purse per year. Then there's Bill C293. The Pandemic Preparation and Preparedness Act. This aligns Canada's public health pandemic plans with the One Health policies promulgated by the World Health Organization. Such policies equate human health with that of plants and opens the doors for climate change to drive national emergency measures. And then there is, of course, Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act. This is otherwise known as the Minority Report Pre-Crime Law, that has the power for anonymous allegations to fine, confine, and gag those who might think of saying something hurtful. It needs to be noted that these initiatives are not standalone in nature, but are reinforced by other domestic and international innovations. The march forward to a new People's Republic of Canada is a very much coordinated effort. On the domestic front, we have recently witnessed the advent of yet another bureaucratic entity to crack down on insensitive citizens. It's called the Canada Community Security Program, or CCSP. It might very well have its inspiration in the Decomposition Directive of 1970s East Germany. Like its East German counterpart, the CCSP uses government resources to help see dissidents destroyed socially and emotionally by pumping up funding to a large web of anti-hate organizations nationwide. This network of snitch lines will be amply aided by a Bill C-63 that opens the door for such rat centers to lay anonymous and vague charges of potential and past hurtful mutterings or even thoughts. Then on the international front, we see Bill C-293 working hand in hand with the United Nations Pact for the Future that itself sees 193 nations, including Canada, committing to the installation of a global digital compact. A compact that will be the backbone of centralized efforts to control global One Health policies resident within C-293. One can be forgiven for perceiving an anti-constitutional rush to cashier the civil liberties of everyday Canadians. Of particular note are legislative and regulatory measures aimed at relieving citizens of the right to express and have access to communication materials. What else to think of the frenzied and seemingly coordinated efforts to curtail speech and, unbelievably, thoughts through Bill C-63, even as the rat centers dedicated to uncovering such hurtful wrongthink are plumped up with government, or should I say, taxpayer funds. It's as though such measures are being put in place in a piecemeal fashion to create a prison that only needs the final turning of a key to lock the good folk of Canada into an irreversible tyranny. This turnkey tyranny that is being built to convert a strong and free Canada into a vassal state of offshore authorities was prophesied by NSA whistleblower William Biney in 2012. Biney was dumped from the Christmas card lists of all United States three-letter agencies in 2012 when he asserted that the administrative state in that country had been busy for decades creating a turnkey totalitarian state. This state, he declared, would be activated once the last piece of the puzzle was in place. A good case could be made that in Canada, the last puzzle piece is Bill C-63, with its Orwellian objective of bringing all speech under the bright light of hate speech. What speech cannot be deconstructed into an evil enterprise by a subjective, eye of the beholder emotional qualifier like hate? It goes without saying that such a development will chill speech to the point that only preferred narratives will see the light of day. What puzzle piece better secures the tyranny sought by those who would fund and own such narratives? Seen as the puzzle piece or keystone that locks Canadians into a state of silence and therefore acquiescence before the onset of tyranny, the enactment of Bill C-63 becomes a pivotal event. One might compare it to the enactment of Nazi Germany's Enabling Act of 1933. That act allowed the German dictator to create unconstitutional laws without the approval of either Parliament or Reich President von Hindenburg. The similarities to Bill C-63 are striking, as our Online Harms Act similarly creates a digital safety commission that is unfettered by any need to respect the civil liberties of Canadians. So, security of the person and freedom from unreasonable search and seizure are thrown out the window, and citizens are set upon by anonymous crybabies, not to mention networks of rat centers that don't like the cut of your jib. The fact that Bill C-63 can be construed to be Canada's very own Enabling Act is readily discernible. One could look far and wide for another piece of Canadian legislation that crushed so many sacred and fundamental charter rights and come away frustrated. What to think as the Act summarily creates a digital safety commission that can, on the basis of anonymous charges, punish alleged wrongdoers of past and even potential future acts with fines, house arrest, electronic tagging, or communications bans in contravention of the Charter Section 7 right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. Then, it allows for commission-appointed investigators to conduct warrantless searches in contravention of the Charter Section 8 right to be secure from unreasonable search and seizure. Then, the Act obviates any need for the Commission to be bound by any legal or technical rules of evidence in contravention of the Charter Section 1 Limitations Clause. Then, the Act amends the Criminal Code to create a two-tier justice system in which life in prison is imposed for speech violations, even as career criminals roam the streets thanks to a malfunctioning bail system in contravention of the Charter's foundational rule of law principle. And then, the Act aggravates an already heavy state of censorship in Canada that will further chill the speech of citizens and journalists in contravention of the fundamental rights enumerated in Section 2 of the Charter. It's hard to see how such a thorough trouncing of the fundamental rights and freedoms afforded Canadian citizens could not lead to a tyranny immune to challenge. Perhaps the Online Harms Act should be renamed Canada's Enabling Act of 2024. It goes without saying that the good folk of Canada, the ones who pay the freight, obey the laws, and build their communities, cannot let such a legislative atrocity proceed. At the time of writing this update, the bill is in second reading with its progress taking priority over other compelling issues, including the uncovering of alleged traitors within the Parliament of Canada. The Speaker of the House of Commons may not see Bill C-63 for the threat to freedom that it is, but at least one member of Parliament, in the form of Michelle Rempel-Garner, actively defers. Her activism has taken the form of her own private member's bill, Bill C-412, the Protection of Minors in the Digital Age Act. This initiative deals with a Trojan horse embedded in C-63 in the form of dealing with abuse of minors, non-consensual distribution of graphics, and criminal harassment on the internet by modifying in-place criminal code provisions. This without adversely impacting Canadian free speech rights. All that is required for C-412 to succeed is public support. C3RF believes rank-and-file Canadians are very much concerned with the loss of freedoms called up by Canada's Enabling Act, Bill C-63. Accordingly, it has joined forces with Rempel-Garner's private members' bill and the Conservative Party writ large through its own House of Commons e-petition. This petition, labeled e-petition 5160, is sponsored by Conservative MP Kathy Wagenthal and points out the charter travesty that Bill C-63 truly is, while requesting that it be replaced by Bill 412. This message needs to be made loud and clear to all legislators, and so it will be if you sign the petition on the C3RF website at www.canadiancitizens.org. Enabling Act be damned. Canadians will not have their hard-won rights and freedoms dashed by the Trojan horse that is Bill C-63. After all, our forefathers have fought and died for far less than this existential threat to a strong and free Canada. Again, go to CanadianCitizens.org and sign the e-petition now. Thank you. In closing, a reminder to join us at CanadianCitizens.org, where you can see this update in its full glory, including links to all of the cited documents. Simply go to the News tab at the top of the page and select C3RF Member Updates from its drop-down menu. Until next time, this is Russ Cooper signing off, wishing you and yours much happiness and freedom from C3RF.